Cyclone Sundays with Ben Bruns, powered by Kelderman Manufacturing. From the Channel Seed Studios, this is Iowa Everywhere.
Welcome into Cyclone Sunday, presented by Keller Manufacturing from the Channel Seed Studios. I'm Aiden Wyatt, joined as always by Ben Bruns. Ben, you're in a little different location this week.
Yeah, it's a late night in deer camp, and it'll be an early morning, but live from extreme northwest Wisconsin. It's been a good couple days, so looking forward to
I think you
talking about
need to
the
watch
Cyclone.
every Iowa State game from there
Right.
until the end of time.
How crazy to come into this game with BYU and have the environment be what it was. I mean, that place was rocking, just rocking.
Mm-hmm.
9 o'clock game. Aiden, there is nothing worse than sitting around all day long, all day, waiting for a night game on the road. It's just you can't, like, there's no relief, right? You can watch other games, you can only do the walkthrough so many times, right? And so you get to a certain point where it's like, I just got to go play, right? And you're trying to keep your energy level down, because the natural thing is to let your vibe get too high early, and I mean, I was really concerned about the fourth quarter of this game. Turns out no need to be concerned. I think Iowa State, and number one, that's not a very good BYU team, right? But Iowa State's offensive and defensive lines dominated this game. The secondary was substantially better this week. And here we are.
So, yeah, let's circle back a little bit. What was the latest that you ever played?
I think the latest I ever played was the Insight Bowl, right? So that was like a 7:30 kickoff in Phoenix, as I recall, right? So, I mean, we got done at like midnight or something crazy. So, this game, and it's an altitude too, right? I mean, Provo is substantially different in terms of altitude than Ames. So my hat's off to these guys. I mean, just to come out and start the way they did, and I think Shieldhouse called his best game. I mean, that little flare pass to Jalen on the second drive of the second half, went to the house.
Yep.
That is a brilliant call. And, BYU was bringing the house at Iowa State today. And that is the biggest evolution of Iowa State this year. BYU is bringing pressure everywhere, right? Stunting guys around, moving guys around, and Iowa State's offensive front just picked it up way more often than not. It was a little hard to do at the beginning, but as the game went on, they just fit into blocks. Black was having a heck of a game and then got hurt, but it looks like he's okay. And Tiber comes in and is playing, really, really, really good football. So I love what this offensive front's doing. The running backs, if they're not going to try and tackle you, don't let them tackle you, right?
And Abu Sama made a few guys look silly.
Woo. Really, really, all three of those guys converted some big plays. We're just surprising how much yardage we were able to gobble up. But there's a difference between being willing to be tackled and then just saying no. Like, you're gonna have to give more than that. And I think BYU had no idea how physical. And it happened to them last week with West Virginia too, right? West Virginia just rolled them up on the ground, and they do not have run support in the safety level to be able to take on this kind of stuff. And it's one of those things that we've said Iowa State at times this year has struggled a little bit. But tonight the secondary just run-filled perfectly, and really has throughout most of the year. I was really impressed with the adjustments that Heacock and team have done, knowing that we're still not to full strength in the back end.
Yeah, I think it took him one drive to kind of lock it in. That first defensive drive, the first true defensive drive, really, when BYU scored that touchdown, looked a little rough in the run game, but they locked things down
Yeah,
quick after that.
yeah. Well, and you're winning at the point of attack too. I mean, I think that's the other thing. The D line and the linebackers. Gary Vaughn, I thought, played a fantastic game, maybe his best game. Um, and just talking about the offensive line and the running game doesn't give enough credit to Rocco as well. I mean, some of the plays
Mhm.
he made, Aiden, whew, right? I mean, those throws are
Yeah, I
not
mean,
easy, right?
you know,
Fitting it into
you
spots and
talk about the
zones.
O-line kinda filling in the holes and stuff. Credit to Rocco for, I mean, first offensive drive, maybe a little bit in the second or third, when BYU sent a lot of pressure, he was a little jumpy, but then he settled in and just saw the field better than he's seen it all year.
Yeah, yeah. You just can't say enough about what how they were prepared, right? Because this is such a challenging situation to come into, and the place was bonkers.
Mhm.
B, how they executed. C, how they've just continued to grow throughout the whole year. I'm sure Matt Campbell's been really proud of a lot of teams. We know that, right? Throughout a coach's career, you have lots of teams that you love. Um, I don't know how this team can't be one of his favorites, or maybe his favorite that he's ever coached. I mean, it would be hard to have it not be that 2020 team, but just because of everything they accomplished together. But like in
Right.
terms of what this team has accomplished as a team throughout the year, recognizing that there's still 2 weeks of the regular season to go, it's mind-boggling, dude. Amazing. It's the best
So you talk
coaching job
about
that he's done, I
yeah,
think.
absolutely. I'm right there with you. Looking at the preparation for Iowa State, having to prepare against, a freshman quarterback where you don't really have a ton of film on him. Take me through kinda how that works for a defense.
Well, great question. And you start with, what do they try to do as a scheme, right? What you can't know is they're going to bring three gadget plays at you, at the start of the third quarter, and like how they had time to fit that stuff in when they're trying to get a freshman ready to go play. I don't know. Maybe that is part of the problem that's happening there. But those plays worked pretty well. I uh, I think understanding, it's hard to know what the guy's strength is, right? And so you end up finding out that he scrambles really well and he throws on the run pretty well. So that whole, do you pressure or do you contain, is the big challenge that Heacock was having to deal with, not knowing how this guy plays. And um, and I think Iowa State felt confident being able to get pressure with 3 or 4 guys because they had good enough dudes up front defensively, and
Mhm.
and they definitely did at times get home with 3 or 4 guys, um, and they didn't have to bring more than that most of the time, which meant, as a young quarterback, you may make some bad decisions, and I think early in the game you saw there'd be challenges, and really throughout. Right, he got a little mojo in the third quarter, um, but besides the drive with all the trick plays where he converts it, with a run on fourth down, after Iowa State did a great job of covering everybody up. I think a brilliant execution, coming into a situation where you don't really know what you're going to get.
Yeah, as we're talking here, Jamison Patton just intercepted a pass, so
Awesome.
there you
Great
go.
game out of that kid,
Or some pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, true freshman out there playing. Played the majority of this game, if not all of it, and you know, um, a difference maker on the backside.
So Iowa State, 2 games left in the regular season. Texas at home, on the road at Kansas State. And last week we talked, and we kind of like, oh man, Iowa State had their chance to control their destiny in the Big 12 title game. They had a good effort at it. Maybe next year. Some bitch, they're right back in it.
I love it.
They pulled us back in.
Yeah, I mean, I said it last week. I think Iowa State can win all 3 of these games. It's hard, right? It's hard, but I think
it's definitely not
true,
impossible.
Right? Yeah. I mean, Texas MO is to I'm not entirely sure how good they are. I think they've got some dudes. And when Iowa State was consistently beating Texas over the course of the last, 5 years, there haven't been those guys where you're like, he gets the ball and you're like, oh, watch out. When I played those guys, when there were guys when they got the ball, you're like, oh, watch out. Texas has a couple of those guys now. And their offensive and defensive lines are substantially better. But, I think Cooper's a huge element in this game. If he's back, I think it's the difference maker. And I know C-Dub was tweeting about that earlier today too. Yep. I think it's really, really a big factor in the game. But I also think, how the offensive line plays, if the offensive line can do half of what we did today against Texas in terms of running the football, and just have a consistent running attack that Texas has to always be mindful of, and Shieldhouse can continue to, have these change-up plays. Like, I love the screen game that he threw today, right? And we haven't run much screen game all year, but BYU was bringing so much pressure, right? And the way we set it up and the way we executed it was fantastic. I mean, tight end screen, which you rarely do. Tunnel screen to the other side. It's like, that was really well done. And, I think it's going to take stuff like that against Texas to win. But it's going to be an electric atmosphere. And, we got one last shot at these guys, right? So regardless of what happens in the Big 12 race, to me, that's just icing on the cake. You still got to go beat K-State. You still got to go beat K-State, and that will not be easy, right?
Yeah.
But you only get one more chance to play Texas. So let's go beat their ass.
I'm right there with you. Jamie Pollard actually sent out an email this week to students saying, hey, I know it's Thanksgiving. I know you're going to want to go home, but we need you in Jack Trice Stadium.
One last chance, man.
Yeah.
One last chance.
And he specifically put in the email, like, this is Iowa State's last chance to get a win over Texas. It's a big deal.
Which we've done pretty readily in the past recent history, right? So, I can't wait.
Should be a fun week ahead. Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
No, just hats off to this football team, to these coaches, and to everybody around the program that supports them, right? Players, families, and, when you go through hard times like Iowa State has in this year, it's easy for all the rest of us to just kind of turn it off and, okay, we'll see what happens next week, right? But for these players, coaches, their families, that doesn't happen, right? It is life. And, I think the part that is so gratifying about this is just how well they've responded and how well they've grown. And, regardless what happens the rest of this season, there's a lot of people that should be really, really proud of themselves. And, the opportunity that's ahead because of what we've already done is next level. So go get it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Good stuff has always been.
Cool.
We now send it to our Channel Seedsman of the Week, Joe Hora. All right, we now welcome into the Channel Seed Studios, my man Joe Hora. Cyclone Sunday presented by Keller Manufacturing. Joe, Iowa State picks up win number 6, going bowling, 45-13 over BYU. What'd you think?
Well, it's always exciting to get to that 6th win, to be able to play here in the postseason, and look forward to either having here a game in December or January. Just overall, really pleased. I mean, we won in the trenches. Our offensive line, defensive line. We were the more physical team. Running the ball with multiple running backs. A lot of success there. Nice to see some big plays. The speed that we had on the edge is, I mean, we showed that we were the better team, but I think we had a great game plan going in and we executed. So it's like 12:30 here local time, so it's a late game, but it's one of those games that we don't have many of those where we don't have a whole lot of stress. So it's nice going fourth quarter feeling pretty good.
Yeah, this late kick could have gone very poorly if we're sitting here recapping an Iowa State loss. But of course, since you're on the show, Iowa State never loses. I think you're 4-0 on the year, 5-0 maybe.
I think 4-0. Yeah, a little call out Nate Shieldhouse. I mean, he had a great game plan going in, and just continued to keep them off guard, and we, I mean, just executed. But just the play calling, I think might have been his best game. Some of the misdirection on the offensive side, running the ball, a great call by him on a number of third downs. I felt like we were getting every third down in the first half. I think also something to call out is just the overall depth of our team. We have a lot of injuries going on. Obviously, secondary. We're hopefully going to get Jeremiah Cooper back here next week.
Right.
We'll see, but I'll just call out on the depth of the team. But yeah, excited for next week. It's going to be a great atmosphere, and we control our own destiny. So I think as Iowa State fans, we got to be pretty darn happy with where we sit today, and excited here for this year and into the future.
And you mentioned, Iowa State last week. You lose to Kansas. It's like, oh man, you're in there for the Big 12 title contention, and all of a sudden it's kind of over. But things go Iowa State's way this week. All of a sudden they're right back in that Big 12 race with Texas and K-State left on the schedule. How do you feel about the next 2 games?
Well, I saw a stat on ESPN. It was like percentage of winning both games. It was like 1.8%.
Yeah.
I feel
Brutal.
better. I wouldn't call it 50%, but the next 2 games, obviously they're huge, but we're playing with house money. I'm excited. I think as a fan, we're going into the last 2 weekends of the year with the opportunity. That's all we can ask for. Do our best, put a good plan in place, and you never know.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
No, looking forward to next week. We'll keep this one shorter for the late night, and appreciate the time.
Yeah, Clones After Dark officially wrapping up here on Cyclone Sunday. Joe, thanks for your time as always. This has been Cyclone Sunday presented by Keller Manufacturing from the Channel Seed Studios. We'll see you next time.